Hey guys, thanks for having me. My entry into racing started as a kid. When I was about 6 or 8 years old, I would watch both the Indy 500 and Daytona 500. Back in the early 80s, those were the only races that were broadcast where I lived. My family thought I was crazy because they just didn't see the appeal of watching cars go round and round in circles. But you know, from the time I saw these races, I was hooked, and I loved the competition, and I loved watching racing. Once I got into junior high and high school, I'd still never set foot on a racetrack, but we had more racing on TV, so I was able to watch the Champ Car series, the kart series, IndyCar, NASCAR, and Formula One, and I was a crazy kid that would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to watch an overseas race, or stay up late to watch Formula One. Then I would watch the local races and things like that. Once I got a little bit older and got introduced to my in-laws family, they started bringing me to the drag race track, and my in-laws were obviously drag racers, but they were also engine builders, and supported the local racing community. So from the time I got into high school, was the first time I really set foot on a racetrack, and they were great to me because they allowed me to help. I didn't have a lot of skill, I didn't have a lot of knowledge, but I was pretty enthusiastic. So I would be able to help tow the car, shine the car. I would hang out with my father-in-law in the garage, and we would tell stories, and he imparted a lot of knowledge into me. But drag racing really was never my thing. I was always, way more interested in open wheel racing and stock car racing. Once I started my business, Cantork, I began doing some sponsorship of local stock car racers. Then in 2007, Champ Car came to Edmonton and started what was called the Edmonton Grand Prix. Which featured the Champ Car series, and NASCAR ran as a feature event. So our local sponsored team was part of that, and we began by hosting 4 people. I bought 4 tickets for the Gold Grandstand, which made me feel like I was a millionaire. And from there, we continued to expand our racing interest in Edmonton. The next year we had 10 tickets. The following year we had 25 tickets. And then shortly thereafter, I was invited to what was called a sponsorship summit held by the promoters of the race. And the featured guest was Alex Tagliani. And Alex and I chatted for probably 45 minutes. I had just bought my first go-kart, and I had a bunch of karting questions for him. And shortly thereafter, we began as a small sponsor of his open wheel racing, and Alex and I forged a very strong, pretty much immediate friendship that lasted to this day, which, through our sponsorship of the open wheel team, when Alex's open wheel career came to an end, or came to a full-time end, we decided to partner up, and found what we call Tagliani Autosport, that we've competed in the NASCAR Pinty series for the last 4 years. So that's kind of the long dragged out version, but that's how I went from a kid in a small town to an owner of a NASCAR Pinty series team. That's a great question. My first steps into ownership were once we started Tagliani Autosport, and I had the benefit of being able to partner with Alex, who has done everything that there is to do in racing, and has seen it from the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. But my advice to anyone thinking about ownership, whether it's business ownership, race team ownership, I look at it the same, is that you have to do it because you love it. If you get into a business or a team for any other reason than love, you're likely going to walk away disappointed. Well, what would my team like me for the best? I'm not too sure. I tend to be a pretty good purchaser of beer and hot dogs and hamburgers, and the guys seem to like that a lot. My best asset, I wouldn't really answer that. What I think I bring to the team is a fairly unique perspective. I tend to be fairly philosophical, and the guys often refer to me as a motivational speaker. They like the pep talks before we start the races. Whether it helps or not, I'm not too sure, but we did put 3 wins on the board last year. So the guys did their job, and obviously Alex did his part. But maybe in some small way, my motivational speaker skills brought the win a little bit closer.